Hi everyone, Tess here, clinical and forensic psychologist. I'm in Okachimachi in Tokyo, which is one of an area that I really love visiting. It's great shopping, great food, and lots going on. You can see there's actually some ice skating happening behind me, if you can check it out. I might not be live for long. I haven't got my earphones. So I'm hoping this sounds okay because it's a busy time of day. It's actually 5 p.m. here at the moment. I wanted to touch base. I'm going to write about this, so watch out for a blog post on this issue soon. But I really wanted to touch base about something that I've learnt while I've been here in Japan about mindfulness. As a psychologist, I'm often teaching mindfulness skills to clients, how to eat mindfully, how to use their 5 senses to draw down on and be mindful with their emotions, how to use mindfulness skills as a tool to help to settle and regulate your emotions. But what I've noticed while I've been here in Japan is it's a busy place. I think there's like 15 million people live in Tokyo. There should be a lot of chaos, there should be a lot of craziness. I should be feeling really overcrowded most of the time. And what always surprises me when I'm here in Japan is that I never feel that. I never feel overcrowded, I never feel pressured, I don't feel stressed, I don't feel rushed. And when I watch what the Japanese people tend to do, and I don't like to generalize about a whole race of people, but what I've noticed from the people I've interacted with while I'm here in Japan is that there is a tendency towards a mindful approach to interactions with each other and to interactions with their environment. I'll give you some really simple examples, and I'm going to walk a little bit so you can see a little bit of nighttime Tokyo while I'm here talking. What really strikes me, here's a really good example about mindfulness to one's environment. So if you go to any cafe, if you go to McDonald's, if you go anywhere where you're served food and you take it on a tray to your table, you never see rubbish left anywhere. Now in Australia, of course, people get up and expect that some staff member is going to come and sweep away their tray and their bowls and their leftover bits and pieces. People don't assume that here. People take responsibility for tidying up their own space. So when you go to McDonald's, if you take your kids to a McDonald's here in Tokyo, what you'll find is that there's a rubbish bin for the plastics, there's a rubbish bin for the papers, so paper cups and hamburger wrappers and whatnot go into the papers bin, and you put your tray somewhere else. And everybody does it. Everybody is mindful to their environment. They pay attention to what needs to be done. They slow down enough in their busy lives to make sure they put the right waste in the right bin, because actually here in Japan waste is a big issue, and the sorting of waste and the recycling of waste, because it's a very small space of land with a lot of people on it producing a lot of waste, so they're very careful in how they do that. It's another example of how they are mindful to their environment by sorting their rubbish. Interpersonal interactions, really the thing that gets me here in Japan. I absolutely love the fact that people stop, pause, take a breath, look you in the eye and say thank you. And there might be there will usually be a bow as well with that thank you. If you think about when you're in Australia, you think about when you've bought something from a shop and you've paid your money and you're busily putting your change into your purse and you're making sure you've got your items in your bag, you haven't left anything behind, and you kind of call out a little thank you over your shoulder as you walk out the door, and you're not really looking at the person. Sometimes you might have a chat with the shopkeeper, but generally speaking, our mind's already gone. We've handed over our money and our mind's already somewhere else. So what I really love here is that people actually tune in to that interaction with one another. Now we can call it courtesy, and of course it is courtesy. It's very courteous, but it's also being mindful. You are consciously aware of where you are in that conversation, in that interpersonal interaction, and you're present, absolutely present in that interaction. And that is something that I think we miss, this idea that mindfulness is a set of skills that you have or don't have, and there are a set of skills that you learn or you don't learn. And when in actual fact mindfulness can be something that you incorporate into your daily life. It's really about being tuned in and being present to where you are and what you're doing and what's going on around you. There's not a sense of crazy rush here. If you go to Sydney or Melbourne, you feel like everyone's rushing. It's 5 o'clock here. Like, it's 5 o'clock. If I go to the train station now, which is where I'm really on my way to, I'm just sort of ambling about chatting to you guys, but if I go to the train station, there'll be a lot of people. The train carriages will be pretty packed, but everyone will be courteous. Everyone will be focused on where they are and what they're doing. And there's none of that rush sense that I, associate with busy peak hour times in Sydney and Melbourne. I used to live in Melbourne, so I know exactly what peak hour can be like in Melbourne. So my thought for you guys as I'm sort of ambling around busy Tokyo, not being particularly mindful to my environment, is really this notion of how can we, and it's a question, I'll put it to you guys, how can we incorporate the concepts of mindfulness into our daily lives? Nobody can be 100% mindful 100% of the time. It's just not realistic, and I'm not going to expect you or me to do that. But I think that if we can learn something from other cultures and from other ways of being that we can think about incorporating into reducing our stress levels, for example, slowing down. Now, Tokyo is not the slowest place on the planet, it's a busy, thriving city, but people still slow down enough to be aware of where they are, to interact with their environment mindfully, to interact with each other mindfully, and to just be a bit more present. I think it's amazing. I've learned an awful lot from this trip about other ways of viewing some of the psychological concepts I talk about a lot in my work. I talked about acceptance and its role in anxiety management. So if you've missed that blog post, have a look through. It's about how we can incorporate acceptance into our daily lives. Using the example here of being in a community prone to earthquakes and having experienced a couple of my own here. Anyway, so for today, you can see the train right there. So I'm about to hop onto the train at Okachimachi station and zip along a couple of train stops to Nippori station, which is just around the corner from the apartment we're staying in. I've really loved my time in Japan. Tomorrow we're heading to Narita and staying the night in Narita so that we're close to the airport for the following day for our return to Australia. So I'll be back soon, and then you can blink. And I've got lots of exciting plans for my new year back in Australia in terms of online content for all of you guys, plans within the practice for all of the clients of our practice, plans to expand our teams. So if you're a clinical psychologist, a child psychologist, or a general psychologist, or any other kind of psychologist for that matter, or a mental health accredited social worker, I'd really love to hear from you. If you're a paediatric OT, I would also really love to hear from you. So just tacking on that little bit of a recruitment drive at the end of today's vlog post. So sayonara from here in Tokyo, and I hope that you're having a fabulous night at home in Australia. I know it's a bit later there than it is here, and I'll talk to you all again soon, no doubt. So keep in mind, how can we be a bit more mindful in our day-to-day interactions in our environment, interpersonally, as well as practicing those skills to regulate our emotions. Take care for today. Bye.